All right, let's go over some Edelbrock tuning. Now, I've done a couple things already, and I haven't really said that in this build process of the Ram Charger. So again, this is like a 248 at 50 duration on the camshaft, so probably a little bigger than what I should be using for this combo. What's hurting me is it's a heavy vehicle with the Ram Charger. I have the the low stall converter in there, so there is a low stall and a high stall. Most manufacturers have that. So the high stall is more your towing truck, so it gets it up there, you know, like 1800, 2300, something like that. And low stall is like none. Not none, but it's pretty tight. So that's what I have working against me right there with those three things. So anyways, tuning this is a little bit harder. Now the other thing is I have a dual plane intake manifold, which means that if you look at the carburetor, you got two barrels. You know, you got the, you know, one barrel, right? So it kind of splits it in half. So you got the upper and lower H, and half the engine sees half the carburetor, whereas a single plane, half the engine can see all the carburetor. So that right there makes this carburetor seem smaller than what it is. And that's one reason why if you got a dual plane, you can actually go bigger carburetor than what some sort of calculation says, is because of how it's splitting it, right? And then I got a 4-hole spacer in there, which doesn't allow it to see anything. So an open spacer might help some of my tuning as well, but we're not going to dive into that. Okay, so here's what I had. I had to fix my spark on the thing because it just had such weak spark. It was just fouling out the plugs and running rich. So then I put a good ignition system on it, and now I'm the opposite. I'm completely lean, can't get into the gas hardly at all without spark knock. Go through, double check my timing. I have the timing tape on there when I built the engine, so I made sure that was lined up right, didn't slip or anything, new damper, and went through and set it back up about 15 degrees initial, and then the distributor gives another 20 in mechanical, but I'm not even getting to that. It's like I can't even get the engine to rev up because it's loaded up so hard and spark knocking so bad. Pull the plug, just completely white, no tan on it. So that means we need to do some carburetor adjustments. So one of the things I want to note, the book that I have in American, this is an outdated book. I have pulled up over there from Edelbrock's website the updated one. So one of the things that's outdated is a little chart here that says what jets and rods and all that. This is incorrect. So I think the revision on this was like 2016, so it wasn't right. I went in and pulled all that out to see what I had. I had the 7037 rods in there and a 101 jet. So the first move I did, I went to a 6837 rod because I'm working off my old, you know, I've had these things for a long time. I'm working off what I have, and what that did was it richened up my cruise. And it's like I really didn't want to richen cruise up, but that's what I could do. So the idea was, instead of being lean in power mode and lean in cruise, I'd pull cruise down here, so I'd have to go further to get to that. Also went to the pink springs, which means that it's going to go into power mode a lot easier than what it would be with the orange springs that it come out with. So that helped. I can get further into the throttle now before I get spark knock, and I'm starting to get a tan mixture. So that was a right move. So I'm going to go in, now that I have the Edelbrock digital version over there pulled up, I can now tune it, because going off all the charts for the old carburetor, it's not the same. These little things, it's not the same thing. So I was guessing on how to get there. So now that I have that pulled up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and put the 7037 rods back in to factory. I'm going to keep the pink springs in there for now, and I'm going to bump up my jet size because I still need to go up. Now what I think I need is a 7337, so that would make it to where my cruise mode isn't getting so rich. I don't have one, and I'm not going to buy one right now because that's actually a smaller step. What I want to do is change it so much I get a result. What can happen when you're doing stuff like this is you make a little bitty tiny change and never see anything. You have to do a whole bunch of little tiny changes. So the idea is, and this is how prototyping works too, is you go a big enough step to where you know you're going to get a change, and then go from there. Sometimes you might really need to be up here. So if you take these little bitty steps, it'll take it forever to get any kind of change, and they just get frustrated and waste time. Okay, did the test drive. It's just going to be noisy with the, well, lack of all kinds of door gaskets and all that stuff on, right? Work in progress. So let's talk about how the chassis went. If you noticed, I was fighting this thing back and forth. So the steering box needs to be tightened up, and I need to go through and make sure that everything's still greased good, because I had the whole front suspension off. I mean, the whole front suspension off. Go in, make sure everything's greased tight. Now that I did a good drive, that's the longest I've drove it. But the steering box definitely is doing this, and I definitely have some bump steer going on. I hit a bump and I'm going off that direction, right? So I need to look at that. Bump steer could be just the way the tire and toe and all that stuff's lined up. So Brakes are doing good, I mean, it's hard to manage this driving it down the road. I don't want to go past 65, can start getting a little vibration in there, but that's all suspension stuff. The vibration could be drive shaft. Wind just picked up. The vibration could be drive shaft, but I don't think so. It doesn't feel like drive shaft. It's completely speed, and then a certain speed it kind of picks up. So it's probably, you know, need to go in. I had new wheel bearings in there. Wind. Got new wheel bearings in there. So might want to go in and just double check everything. Control arm bushing bolts, all that stuff. It's been pulled apart. Okay, now the engine part, I still have some spark knock in there. It's really wanting to go. I can really tell it's spark knock bad whenever I'm in first gear and kind of rev it up pretty good, and as soon as I hit second gear, it just hard spark knocks. So I'm going to let it cool down and pull the plug and see where that is. The other thing, I still have the PCV system hooked up, and with the rings not broke in, it could be diluting and causing some of that trouble. I should be getting out of old gas because I drove down to the tag office and my tag was expired. I didn't know it. Like, bad, way past due. That's a hit to the budget there, getting that fixed. But and we just had to take care of some stuff there, so went down there and come back. So we should be getting some good fuel. Dropped by the gas station as well, put some more 91 in it, so it should be getting that fixed. Timing, don't know where it's at. I gave up on my old timing light. I need to get another one, but the timing is what the timing is. So apparently I need to dial it back a little bit, but I want to see where my air-fuel ratio is by reading plugs, which isn't really the best way to do it, but that's what I got right now. I'd like to get one of those O2 sensors, and I can just drill a hole and plug it in to exhaust, and we're done with that, right? Okay, so the other thing, this combo sucks. Kind of a tall tire, tall gear, automatic no stall converter. When I say no stall, I mean there's the factory stall, which most of them think had a low and high stall. This is a low stall, so it's doing the buck and, you know, jerk thing at, you know, under 1500 RPMs. If I'm just trying to hold, it'll start doing that number and everything. It just horrible combination in there. A lot, but it was a test drive, so that's good. As far as the engine, the rockers, and all that, it's sounding good, and it's there. I got all these other tuning things to take care of. So I don't know how much more rich I want to go, but that's a 750 Holly. Actually, it's not technically Holly. It's a QFT Slayer that I bought a few years ago. I might be putting that on. That has more adjustments than the Edelbrock, and actually this Edelbrock carburetor on there, it kind of goes to a different engine that I'm going to be building. I want to put on a 318, you know, so I don't want to just go in and keep making all these major changes, because there's a pretty big jump going up that whole jet size, and it's like it wants more. So don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if it's just because it's the electric choke version or whatever, but the engine wants more. That's for sure. So we'll see when I read that plug.